Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to be doing another installment of the weekly meta breakdown where we look at the top performing decks on the MTG Arena ladder. This particular video will be for standard best of one. In particular, we're going to be focusing on the mythic rank specific. So we're going to be looking at the highest rank on Arena. For standard best of one, what are the best decks right now? If you're looking for best of three standard, explorer, historic, especially with the new cards that came into both those formats through Shadows over Innistrad and the new kind of extended like OG best of original Innistrad. We have videos in the playlist, so you can always catch it every week. We try to capture all the changes that happen to the meta. So if you do enjoy this type of content, or if you just want to catch mythic level gameplay, we do that on the channel as well. We brew a bunch of stuff. We play a bunch of the top decks for demo purposes. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Closing in, I'm about 50 subs away from 8,000, but I do have a goal for June to reach 10,000. So if you haven't done a sub to the channel, it's free, it's easy. Helps out the channel a lot, and as always, if you've already subbed, liking and commenting helps me out, and it costs you nothing, so it's greatly appreciated. So we are going to be looking at Untapped GG, what you see on the screen. It's a companion tool that runs alongside the Arena client, tracks win rates, loss rates, aggregates it into this meta information that we have here. Does your deck collection, a whole bunch of stuff, lots of cool stuff with it. The link is in the video description. I'll paste all these deck lists for you in the video description, so if you want to copy and paste them in, go ahead. But we are looking March 18th through the 25th. And Mythic rank, like I said, 54,000 games of Magic as our sample size. And we got a new deck, and it's the #1 deck of the week. Boros Control, 62 and change %. And there's been a lot of aggressive decks. We see mono red, various soldier piles, the toxic decks the last few weeks. And a card that's pretty much answers all of those is Brotherhood's End. So this is a kind of Borosy Angels deck in standard. You'll notice some black sources in the mana base, and that is for Archangel of Wrath to be able to kick it for the extra mana, but lots of early interaction, big fireball effects with Light Up the Stage, so you can also remove loyalty counters to get it from flashback. You have Strangles, Brotherhood's End, Destroy Evils as removal, copy of Depopulate as well as Farewell. Your Eternal Wanders can be removal spells in terms of like a board wipe. Your Wandering Emperor, obviously, flash in and ninja swipe a creature into exile. And then just kind of piecing together the deck. We have Cathar Commando, Flash Threat that could trade in combat, but also can be used offensively to just, 2 mana, 3/1 flash is decent value. And then it could also destroy an artifact or enchantment. We also have Bank Busters for card advantage in the deck. Fable and Wedding Announcement, two of the best 3-drops in the format. Now you get to throw them in together. And then, like I said, Archangel of Wrath is removal or just burn to the face. And then you got some Sanctuary Wardens. So you kind of got your Angels package. We've seen Mardu Angels in the past. But now we have it just in a Boros shell kind of mixed into there. So it's actually exciting to see that there's some new decks popping up instead of me doing this. Like past standards have been where it's like, okay, so this is it Epiphany and this is mono green. Thanks for watching my TED Talk. But we are going to be moving on. Naya Humans. Just edged out by 0.1%, a tenth of a percentage to being the top deck. So this is a base white human tribal deck that's splashing for red and green for a human kind of tribal theme. So you have your Hopeful Initiates that get bigger when you attack. You can use the counters to remove from any of your creatures to blow up artifacts or enchantments. Skrelv as their protection. So it's not a human, but it's a human at heart. It's just kind of gnawing at that human's hand. But this one will give you protection and pseudo unblockable. If you're, say, against mono red, you have your Adeline, you want to attack in. They only have red creatures, make it unblockable attack in. Intrepid Adversaries, your Lord style effect, as well as just a decent lifelinker in terms of racing. Catilda helps you ramp into your bigger creatures, as well as late game, just be a mana sink if you want to pump to kind of outscale your opponent's board state. Main board hate for Toxic. So if you're tired of losing to Rot Priest decks, Malira says, I only get poison once per turn, and it's also kind of an insulated remove. If your opponent tries to remove something, it can be used to bring stuff back. So some resiliency both with Skrelv and Malira in terms of opponents having a lot of targeted removal. We have Thalia, Guardian of Thraben for tax effects. There are no non-creatures in this deck, so just tax your opponents. You got the 3-drop trifecta, Adeline, make you a big board. Anointed Peacekeeper taxes your opponent's hand, and then Brutal Cathar exiles your opponent's creatures. So smack them, tax them, wipe out their board. And then your 4-drops, you got Halana and Alana partners. This makes any of the creatures you play chunkier, hastier, and just allows you to kind of beat down your opponent. And then you have Sigarda, Champion of Light, not an angel, but an angel lord. Gives decent stats for mana for a 4/4 flying trample on its own. And then it also gives your humans +1/1. And then if you attack with Coven, so 3 creatures with power that are different, you get to potentially draw a card from your library. You're able to accommodate the human splash through Secluded Courtyards, the various dual lands, and then Plaza Heroes. There's a lot of legendaries in the deck, so it also helps fix at that. And then the Plaza can also be used as a protection spell. Then go to Azorius Soldiers, 61.9. We're going to say 62%, so a bunch of 62ers this week. So this version is on the, usually like the difference is what's the 2-drops. Some Protect the Negotiators in here, 1 Denic. Still got your Harbins, Thalias, and Valiant Veterans, your 1-drops and Recruitment Officer for card advantage. And Yodian is just kind of a 2 bodies in 1. Once it dies, you can bring it back. Kind of gives you buffs to your creatures. Brutal Cathars for exiles. Siege Veteran to pump up a specific creature and be kind of removal insurance. You know, if your creature dies, that's non-token, you get something behind at least. Your Sky Strike Officer is your card advantage. And then your Myrel is your way to just kind of go wide. So kind of Adeline adjacent and kind of has the tax effect on your opponent that they could only play on their turn. The mana base, you've got Deserted Beach, Adakar Wastes, and then Fortified Beachhead as an additional duel, Secluded Courtyards, Plaza Heroes mixed in. Then go to Mono Red Burn. So there's kind of 2 variations of Mono Red. There's the Thundering Raiju version of the deck, and then there's the Mechanized Warfare version. The Mech Warfare seems to be having a higher win rate this week by about 2 to 3% comparatively. So this version's looking to leverage this enchantment. So whenever a red permanent or an artifact deals damage to your opponent, it deals 1 additional. So it makes your like Lightning Strikes deal 4, Play with Fires become Lightning Bolts. End Festivities deals 2 damage to each of your opponent's creatures. So this one's got a little bit more of a sweeper style element to it and is better when you're playing into creature mirrors. And then you just have like a bunch of burn, cheap kind of creatures, some card advantage, and Reckless Impulse. Squeak lets you go wide. Feldon's kind of pseudo card advantage as well. 18 lander, so you're really skirting the amount of lands in this deck. So if you don't want to play lands, this is the deck for you. Moving on to Mono White Aggro, Mono White Vindicator, 56%. So similar to the to the Naya Humans deck, you have like your Hopeful Initiate, Skrelves, Intrepid Adversary, Thalia, the same kind of 3-drop package, just in varied numbers. But you're also supplementing it with Lay Down Arms, a scalable removal spell for creatures. It basically is equivalent to the amount of planes you have. Your mana base is pretty much all planes, so lets you deal Shieldrids or whatever from your opponent. Guardian of New Benali is a harder to kill threat. Lets you enlist and then kind of shapes the top of your library when you do by allowing you to scry. You also have Phyrexian Vindicator for decks like, say, Mono Red, Gruul if you run into it. Even at times, some of the decks like Soldiers, if they don't have removal, they can't really attack into it. And then you get to just redistribute damage to your opponent. Steel Seraph's really a 3-drop in this deck. It gives you keyword soup, your choice of Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink. Really just helps you go offense, defense. You know, do you anticipate your opponent has a Wandering Emperor? Well, give it Vigilance. If you're playing against Mono Red, you want to gain 5 life in a turn or some amount of life, go ahead, do that. Kind of mixed into there. Another deck that, you see, the Mono Red deck's pretty budgety. Like if we look at it, I think the only rare, so you got 3 Feldons, so it's 10, 11 rares. But with the Mono White deck, like every card is a rare or a mythic in the deck, so the Mono White deck's actually pretty pricey despite the mana base. Looking at the next deck is Esper Legends, 55-56%. Again, a deck that's got a lot of configurations in terms of how it can be built. This version's got 5 1-drops, Ashnot, as well as Skrelves, some Denics, some removal, and Go for the Throat, Harbin, as well as Thalia, Adeline, Yogg for card draw, Rafine to kind of loot through your hand. Plays really nicely with Toulouse that lets you rebuy those cards once the Toulouse dies through all the discard effects. Shieldreds to gain a bunch of life with like Rafines and tax your opponent. And then AO gets you any of these cards here that are permanents. This really takes advantage of things like Plaza Heroes, and you'll notice like a larger number of cards like Janjo, where normally you would never play 4 of a legendary land in your mana base. But this deck here has got 28 lands, so you're really using this as a spell for as cheap as 1 mana with all the legendaries in your deck. So kind of playing in that respect. And then lastly, I'm just going to go ahead and assume this is a Sanio deck, because this looks like a Sanio deck, who's another creator. Likes to play control. So this is Jeskai Control. And this is, we have like Mind Splice Apparatus, a single copy, but really it's looking to just keep looping things with Devious Cover Up and Witness the Future. Your win conditions are the Wandering Emperor, a White Sun's Twilight, or Burn Down the House, or a single Myrex in the mana base. Just saying no multiple different ways. No on the stack, no on the field, no on the field. Blowing up a base, basically just a bunch of flexible removal, artifact, enchantment creatures, planeswalkers, kind of some burn with lifelink there, Silver Scrutiny as your card advantage effect, Union of the Third Path for some card advantage. We see a number of different sweepers, and then the Emperor can also be mixed into there. So if you like control, we got a couple different flavors of control this week, which is interesting to see how the meta kind of shapes up and moves around from week to week. So that's it for standard for the week. As always, if you have any cool decks that you like, drop them in the comments. Stuff that's working for you. Always interested to see what's working for the community. We'll be back with best of 3 for the following day, and then we'll look later in the week to cover Historic and Explore with the stats from the new set as well. Kind of question for folks. The hot topic is always alchemy. I don't usually do alchemy videos because they get poorly received for the most part. I know some people do like alchemy. Do you want to see alchemy? Like, yes or no? If you don't care for the format, but if there is a general interest in that, let me know. I'm kind of hesitant to, because if I look, people like read the word alchemy and auto downvote, which hurts me as a channel. So despite me trying to put honest like information out to the community for the folks who want it, I end up getting punished in a way. So I kind of want to see if there's enough kind of consensus that folks want to see alchemy. I will do it for those folks. But as always, kind of, I put out what folks want to see from a meta perspective. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one. Stay safe out there.